third sector. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. And it's that third sector, the nonprofits, that we're here to talk about today. My first guest is Paris Pegg. She's the director of our local library, Morrisson-Reeves Library. Welcome, Paris.
Thank you.
I think it's been a while since we've chatted, so we've got a lot to catch up on.
It has been.
First, tell us what's new at the library. What's happening?
Well, as you can imagine, there's been a lot of changes recently with the coronavirus and all of the things that we've had to do to comply with executive orders and health department guidelines and CDC guidelines. But it is really important for us to make sure that our employees are safe and that they feel comfortable coming to work, and that our patrons feel comfortable coming back to the library. Of course, we were closed for quite a while, and during that time period, most of our employees worked from home. They did a lot of professional development and some personal development kinds of things, but we were able to keep them on the payroll and accomplish a lot of things that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to do if we had been open our regular hours. So during that time, we worked really diligently to come up with a plan to reopen, and what would that look like and how would that be safe and for everyone. Following a lot of other libraries' lead and the guidelines from a lot of various organizations, we have been able to reopen. We're not currently open all of our regular hours. We're still not opening until 11 o'clock instead of 9:30. That allows that extra hour and a half to do some additional cleaning and sanitizing. It also gives our staff time to get all of those materials that have been checked out and in quarantine, which we can talk some more about in a minute, back on the shelf and ready for people to check out, without having to do it while there are patrons in the building and having that risk of running into people that they can't be social distanced or that kind of thing. So we have reopened. We have some things in place that are very different than what they were before we closed in March. Most of the furnishings and comfortable seating has been removed. You know, you talk about the third sector and the three sectors in the community. Well, we also feel like a third place. So that's kind of, you know, home and school or work, and then the library. And we've worked really hard over the last few years to become that third place where people think of to go and gather with other people and share information and have constructive discussions and that kind of thing. And we can't do that now. So we've had to kind of reinvent what the library is and how we can offer that third place without really being a place that people can gather. So furnishings have been removed. There's really not a place for people to come in and spend a lot of time. That's another one of the guidelines that are kind of restrictive. They don't want people in an enclosed space for extended periods of time. So we've had to ask people coming in to just be very understanding and very patient. We're asking patrons to check out their own materials now. We have 2 stations set up where the scanners are available to the patron. They scan their library card and they scan their books or their DVDs, whatever they have to check out. But the staff person is still right there to offer assistance and to make sure that everything is coming up on the computer the way it's supposed to and all of that. We also offer a curbside service. So for those people who don't want to come into the building, then maybe they're still not comfortable with that kind of arrangement, they can call and have things pulled off the shelves and then pick them up in the parking lot. They just call and we have a staff person who will deliver those to their car, put it in the back seat or the back of the car, and no one has to touch it until they can get it home and do whatever their procedures that makes them feel good about getting things that have been out like that. We also have computers by appointment. So instead of having the computers just available for people to walk in and use, we've set them up in the barred room, which is our large meeting space in the lower level of the building. And we ask people to make an appointment to use the computer. The appointments are set up for an hour, so you can make an hour appointment. You come in and do what you need to do on the computer. But we also have to restrict those appointments to 1 appointment per day per person. Just again, following guidelines to kind of limit the amount of time that any one person spends in the same enclosed space. So very different than what we were doing before. It's just almost like we've completely reinvented library services and how we can provide services in these times. So we're very excited about the fact that we actually have come up with a plan and that people are able to use the library. We are very hopeful that soon we'll be able to open up at 9:30 like we did in the past. A lot of that will depend on staffing, and as long as we can keep all of our staff healthy and coming to work, then we should be able to work out a schedule where we can get things cleaned and sanitized in the evenings after we close before we open up again. But right now we're limiting that, and we're not opening until 11.
So this has to be incredibly hard.
Oh my goodness.
My husband and I own a restaurant. Most people know that. And we have hard surfaces. We can sanitize hard surfaces. How do you sanitize a book, for goodness sakes?
Well, that's been a really major debate in the whole library profession, but fortunately there are lots and lots and lots of people in the library world that are intelligent enough to read up on the guidelines and to follow. As a matter of fact, there is a study being done that is continually being updated by a very large library group in Ohio, and it's called the Realm Project, and it stands for Reopening. Is that what it stands for? Reopening archives, libraries, and museums. And so this large library group is doing this nationwide study on how long different surfaces that you find in libraries, paperback books, hardback books, plastic covered books, DVD cases, all of those things. They're conducting all of those studies, and they're sending out that information to all of us on the front line, so to speak, so that we can make informed decisions about circulating materials, which brings us back to the quarantine comment that I made earlier. We are asking that anything that gets checked out from the library gets returned through our outside book drop. That allows us to be able to put all of those materials on the cart, and we do that twice a day. Then we label those carts so we know when they were pulled out of that book drop, and we leave that cart sit in quarantine for 24 hours because the study has shown that the contagions are only viable on those different kinds of surfaces for a short amount of time. Part of the study says that if it's absolutely ideal conditions and the exact ideal temperature and humidity and all of that, then you might find a little higher viability past that 24 hours. But for the most part, it's not even detectable in a lot of cases. So we've chosen that 24-hour quarantine period, which again makes it a little difficult because we have some patrons whose library cards are set up so that They're limited on the number of things that they can check out. And then when they return those items, they're not immediately checked in because they have to sit in quarantine. And we just don't want staff to have to handle those materials a lot. So they don't get checked in right away. That patron can't check out anything else until those things have gone through the quarantine process and get checked back in. So it does cause a little bit of issues sometimes, but we really are doing what we feel like is best for the staff who have to handle the materials that have been checked out and come back in, but then also for the other patrons who may want to check out the same materials. And we don't want to put them back on the shelf if there's any kind of risk of contagion still being present.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about your online service too. I know a lot of us have Kindles. We like to check out books that way. Yeah. Tell us how that's possible.
Well, that's one of the things that we really pushed when the library had to close back in mid-March. We really ramped up our access to online services and the kinds of things that people could access online. We made it easier for people to apply for what we call an e-card, electronic access card, and lifted a lot of the restrictions. You know, ordinarily people have to come into the library, they have to show their photo ID and their proof of address. Well, the library was closed and that wasn't possible. So we set up an online application where people could just fill out all of that information. And then we had staff working from home who would respond to that email and say, here's your library card number. Here's your PIN. You have access to all of our electronic resources without even ever coming to the library and receiving a physical library card. So we have Overdrive, which has electronic books that can be downloaded to your computer, to your phone, to your Kindle, to your iPad, to whatever electronic device you prefer. All of the formats are, they can accommodate a variety of formats, and you just download that book. You can read it. Not exactly sure what the loan period is. I think it might be 14 days. And then the book just disappears. You don't have to worry about returning it. We as a library, as an organization, don't have to worry about it being overdue or lost or damaged. So there's no risk of any kind of a financial responsibility. Overdrive also has magazines. They have audiobooks if you prefer to listen to someone else read the story to you or read the book to you. And they are acquiring some streaming video material and content. We currently offer, and it's in flux now because we offered RB Digital, which was electronic magazines and streaming video content, things like great courses and other classic kinds of video material. Overdrive has acquired RB Digital, so they are kind of merging their services, and at some point down the road, Overdrive will be that one source for all of those kinds of things that you can access with your electronic e-card. Now, what we have done since we've reopened, we are in the process of mailing those physical cards to everyone who applied online for an e-card. We're going to mail those cards and say, here's your library card. You can now use this for other things as long as you bring it into the library and show us your photo ID. We decided by mailing it, we've already confirmed that the address is correct. So we just need that photo ID to make sure that it's actually in the hands of the person that it was intended for. But then they have full access. It's not just limited to our electronic resources. Again, while we were closed and trying to ramp up that electronic access and the kinds of things that people could access, we added a service called Curiosity Stream, which is a video streaming service, but it's documentaries. So it's all of those educational, interesting kinds of things that people can just search in that Curiosity Stream catalog and download that video and watch with their e-card. Again, you don't have to come to the library, but we're providing the access to that kind of material. And then Hoopla is another video streaming service that we've added, and it's more of the popular movie and TV shows that people can access with their e-card.
Wow, there's a lot going on at the library.
There's a lot.
I know we've just barely touched the tip of the iceberg, but unfortunately we're out of time. So
Oh no!
We're going to have to schedule a time for you to come back and tell us all the other great things that are going on at the library. But thank you for being my guest today, Paris, and bringing us up to date on a little bit of what's happened during the COVID-19 shutdown and now that you're reopened.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure, and I appreciate the time to talk with you.
Thank you so much. And we'll be right back with more of the third sector. Welcome back. My guest now is Kim English with Every Child Can Read. Welcome, Kim.
Hi.
For those who aren't familiar with your organization, give us a brief history of Every Child Can Read.
Every Child Can Read is an umbrella organization for K-Ready and Third Grade Academy. We're 13 years old now. We're now teenagers. And initially, the founders really were hoping that there wouldn't be a need for us anymore after a few years. And obviously that's not the case. As a matter of fact, I think there's more of a need now than ever. So we didn't anticipate that, but we're going with the flow. So we are growing and expanding and transitioning like everybody has to do. So Rick A. House and Vic Josie came together when there was a crisis of dropouts, and we were labeled a dropout factory in Richmond, and that just wasn't acceptable, of course. So they came up with Third Grade Academy, and then for struggling third graders. And then we also do K-Ready, which is sort of proactive instead of reactive. So we try to get to these kids from 0 to 5, really, is our main goal there. It's kind of expanding to 0 to 8. So we're going to be rethinking some things this year and reformatting a little bit. But that's a little bit of our background.
Super. So tell us about your programming. What is it that these two programs do in our community?
Okay. The main thing that our main goal is to encourage these kids to read from birth and to love reading. And even if they don't love it, they need to understand the importance of it. And that if they don't love the reading part, it can open doors to the love of something else that they have an interest in. So that is our main goal. And we do that with books at birth, at Read Health. I'm going to try to hold up this new little guy. He hasn't been introduced yet. He doesn't have a name. He's a bunny rabbit. I don't know if you can see him. It's a little backpack. And in the backpack, each newborn will get, and they have been getting, Read to Your Bunny. So they've been getting a big board book that goes in a packet or a bag that they receive. Well, we decided that the little bunny bag was too cute to pass up. So now we're doing that way. So that's been a long time. That's been kind of from the beginning that they had books at birth. Well, now we're very fortunate that we have Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We are the affiliate for that. And that is the program that Dolly, we have to fund it, $25 per child per year. But Dolly Parton, that organization, sends a book per month to the children that are enrolled from 0 to 5 years old. At 5, when they turn 5, they graduate. They get their kindergarten ready book. So that's very exciting. But I mean, it's the best value that you can get for your money, but we still have to fund it, you know. So we have about 4,000 0 to 5-year-olds in Wayne County, and to reach them, we are offering this to every child born at Read now. We are committed to doing that, and hopefully we will continue to fund that. We have a campaign coming up, so watch for all that information. That'll be in the next few weeks. So you'll hear a lot about Dolly Parton Imagination Library in the next few weeks. And we help out with Little Free Libraries, and you'll see those around town. But they also, Little Free Library, the organization, the national organization, they do a great job. And people can do that on their own. They don't have to come through us. So, but we'll help them if they need it. We also have a new entity. Today is the last day that we have partnered with Richmond Community Schools, and we have followed their food truck. And so they're at Glen Miller from 10:30 to 11:30 and Clear Creek from 12 to 1. So any kids that come to get food, we offer them a book twice a week. So that's been very fun. And we've had repeat customers, and they liked us. So that was good. The gals or the folks in the food truck said, we always have more people on the day the bookmobile is here. So we kind of grabbed that bookmobile term, but we know what we're talking about there. So, and then we also collaborated with communities and schools. They've been great. With the pandemic, when the schools closed down, they still worked with their kids from March until the end of May. And they said, do you have any books that maybe we could give to these kids when we take them their food? And of course, yes. If we don't, we'll find them. So we did that too, which was great. They gave away over 500 books in that. And then in turn too, then they had extra food. So during our third grade academy, they gave us snacks, which that helped us out tremendously too. So that's a little overview of our programs. Any specifics that you need from me?
I was just going to comment that my 4 grandchildren that live locally love getting their books every month. They're all signed up for the Imagination Library, and they just look forward to getting those books so much. And Hudson, unfortunately, has turned 5 now. So
he graduated.
He graduated, but he looks forward to his brother getting the book.
Yes,
so I highly recommend that program for all of our kids. And then as a grandparent or a parent, I recommend that you help fund that program.
Thank you. Thank you.
So speaking of funding, talk to us a little bit. How do you fund these programs?
We fund through private donors, through grants, and it's getting, how do I put this? We've been very, very, very blessed, and things are changing. And so with our pandemic, we think we're going to have to double third grade academy, because we think third grade academy is going to be a reading academy, which will include 4th graders initially, and then probably 2nd graders. So for funding, Richmond Community Schools usually funds our 3rd grade academy by about 40%. Well, of course, it was very different this year, and we were okay, but we didn't, if they don't receive funding, neither do we. So that was huge, a huge hit, but there again, we didn't need as much. So our teachers actually this year, it was TGA to go, and they went to almost 80 students. There were 78 enrolled, and they went to them. We were able to private fund that, and we had some grants, and which was great, and it covered it. Also, the PPP helped us with the payroll, and that's normally what Richmond Community Schools covers. So when they couldn't, PPP did. So that was good. But we really, really depend on our local folks a lot, and every little bit helps. It doesn't matter. Little, big, whatever, it all adds up. And so we run on normally about a $250,000 budget a year. So it's going to get a little scary, because we're going to be running up to that $400,000+ a year budget, and so it's going to be intense. I hope everybody can keep us in mind for that.
Sure. And if folks are listening and they really care about literacy and helping our kids stay on track with their reading, how can they donate and support these programs?
Well, the easiest way is to go on to our website, everychildcanread.org. There's a donate button there, and it's very easy. We also have a Facebook page, or you can always send us something. We're located at the Foundation Building at the 33 South 7th Street here in Richmond. You can always email us too, get in touch with us, and we'll contact you and we'll figure it out. We'll connect.
Sure. And I know that you are such good stewards of the money. You don't have a lot of overhead. You don't have a lot of staff except those teachers that are providing the direct services to the kids. So it is money well spent on the youth in our community.
Absolutely. It's very, very minimal that we have here. And there's really just two of us, Jackie, Scott, and I. And so we try our best, and we try to make that happen. So, but yes, almost all the money, it goes basically for books and then for that TGA staff.
Sure.
And we do have the best of the best teachers. I'll say that. This year, I cannot say thank you enough to these teachers. They knew the need without even being told. I mean, they're just intuitive. They know their stuff. They're good at it. And they knew what these kids need, and they just did it. And so we're very blessed.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, our time is up, but I want to thank you for what you're doing in this community. It's so vital for our kids to stay on track at that 3rd grade reading level, and this program is essential for that. And if they're falling behind, this just gives them that boost and helps them get caught up over the summer. And I really think that you're creating lifelong learners with this program. And, you know, mother of 4, grandmother of 6, it really touches my heart. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for having me here.
No,
appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us today on the 3rd Sector.